Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. This will be on building benefits packages that attract and retain talent. My name is Deanna Pillen, PHR. I'm an outsourced HR specialist here with Lutz. I've been with the organization for about 3 years now. My main role is working with clients from our outsourced HR service, helping with employee relations, benefits, compliance, a little bit of everything in the HR world.
And my name is Wagner. I lead our retirement plans division within Lutz Financial here at Lutz. So I've been doing this for a little over 21 years, and the last 10 here at Lutz. So working with a lot of our clients just on helping making sure that the retirement plans that they offer their employees are right for the organization.
Here's a little bit about the Lutz Network. We were founded in 1980, headquartered in Nebraska. We embody Midwest values. The firm currently has over 370 employees. And here's a little more detailed information about the different service lines that we offer. So for today's agenda, we'll be diving in and discussing evaluating benefits during renewals and contract reviews, key compliance considerations for human resources and finance leaders, retirement plan strategies, including 401k, safe harbor, and profit sharing, as well as discussing approaches to offerings that strengthen employee retention. Before we kick off today, I wanted to discuss this stat that I found fascinating regarding employees and retention. So 74% of employees say they intended to stay with their current employer for the next 12 months when they felt supported through benefits and well-being initiatives. And this was from MetLife, and I find this fascinating because it really focuses on, it's not only compensation that drives employees to stay at organizations, it's how benefits can really encourage them to stay within an organization, which helps immensely in retention costs. First and foremost, how we're going to be evaluating the retention is how we can best build benefits during the renewal and contracts periods for benefits. So initially, the first key areas of evaluation for benefits within an organization is we want to make sure that we have a pulse on what our employees value within the organization. So first and foremost, the best way to do that is to gather their feedback. And there are a couple of different ways that you can do that. So for example, one of the most common ways that employers are able to gather that data is through an employee feedback survey. So being able to take the information that employees are giving to them in a survey and analyzing that data, looking for trends and seeing what opportunities there are to increase the benefits offerings and what employees really find valuable in their role. Because benefits are such a major factor in why employees want to stay with an organization. Another way to do that is through stay interviews. So these are targeted interviews where key employees are selected to have informal conversations with supervisors or HR leaders within the organization, where they're able to give direct feedback on what aspects of their job, what benefits of the job included with their employment are there that help them feel valued and want to stay within the organization. Another thing that you can do is conducting a pulse survey, which is a little bit less structured than a typical employee satisfaction survey. And a good way to think of this would be a short survey or quiz that can be done in just a few minutes. A lot of times it's a Likert type scale, 1 to 7 type ratings for questions, evaluating what benefits you have and asking for their feedback on, they highly like this or they underutilize this. It's a good way to get a quick pulse and a quick reading on what employees think of the benefits within an organization without having to do a lot of the legwork that comes with a typical employee engagement survey. Another way to evaluate your benefits to best serve your employees is really leaning on your benefits broker. A big piece of benefits comes during that open enrollment and contract renewal stage, and your broker at that time is going to likely be your best friend. They have a lot of information at their disposal that they can help you with your organization and maximizing benefits for your employees. And one thing that they can do is understanding your industry and what that looks like for your employee makeup and helping to tailor the benefits offerings that you have towards the makeup of your employee population, and knowing the industry, knowing the geographical location, and helping you build the most competitive benefits offering for your current employee population. They can also assist in modeling plan designs to change or improve how employees value it without major cost increases. So little tweaks that they can make during that renewals and contracts phase to make it still an affordable benefits program that's maximizing the value to the company overall. And I would say that they can also recommend targeting high impact and voluntary benefits as well. So everyone knows what voluntary benefits are, but it's really targeting the ones that are offered by the organization and what their employees are looking for, whether that's mental health, family support, student loan assistance, EAP, you name it. There are so many different offerings that can be included that don't incur any other additional costs to the organization. And brokers have that first line of information of what's available, what you could maximize, what could be cut, to really maximize what your staff is looking for to make sure that it's reflective of their overall wants and needs to help drive that retention longer and longer. Now we'll be discussing some compliance considerations for retention as well. So some compliance considerations for retention that I'd like to discuss today fall within understanding and complying with equal pay, making sure that within an organization, your frontline managers understand what the Equal Pay Requirement Act entails and how important it is to conduct pay equity audits within that. For example, making sure that they understand that we're comparing similar positions and similar responsibilities across the organization and not strictly relying on job titles alone. The larger the organization, the more jobs are that could have similar overlap in duties and responsibilities across departments, and making sure that there is an alignment within interdepartmental structure that individuals doing similar jobs are doing or being compensated similarly. We all know employees talk, and compensation is something that can come up, and making sure that they feel that they're being compensated equally for the work that they are doing, and that can help drive retention. It's also important to note that other states outside of Nebraska do have other state transparency laws that are where job postings or pay ranges must be posted. So that's something to be aware of within your specific state where your organization operates. Another thing organizations and HR leaders can do to help fuel the compliance for retention on compensation is establishing clear and objective structures on how compensation is decided upon and what the salary ranges are for individual positions, and making sure that employees are included in understanding how that compensation is determined when someone performs well, when they're brought into an organization, and making sure that it's very clear and objective and there's not a lot of room for outliers in that process. And in the event that there are any of those outliers, making sure that those differences are being documented and based on legitimate experience from another organization, higher education than what the job specifically requires, for example, or exceeding performance, year over year throughout their tenure at the organization as well. Another thing individuals can do from an HR compliance standpoint is working to standardize and maintain accurate job descriptions across the organization as well. And also, I think it's very important to train managers and leaders to apply compensation practices consistently throughout an organization to reduce any pay inequity potential claims for violating the Equal Pay Act. I'll turn it over now to Chris to talk a little bit about retirement plan.
Awesome, thanks, Deanna. So I'm going to go through just at a very, very high level some of the various retirement plan strategies that can be utilized, depending on certain criteria within your organization. Retirement plans provide a excellent opportunity to really set yourselves apart from a total compensation package. And, there's a lot of changes that have happened in this world, in the retirement plan world over the past really 6 to 7 years, right? There's two big laws, Secure Act 1.0 and Secure Act 2.0, that both have over 120 different new retirement plan regulations that come with that. So I thought it might be helpful first just to kind of discuss a little bit of the situation and really the role that companies play in helping employees have access to a successful retirement plan, right? So some of your statistics that you look at, if an employee doesn't have access to a retirement plan through work, the likelihood that they're actually saving for retirement is very small, right? And these are some of the situations and some of the reasons why Secure Act 1.0, 2.0, and more than likely in the next year or two, a Secure Act 3.0, that the government is feeling that themselves necessary to step in to help, right? Right now, 70% of private sector workers have access to a defined contribution plan or some type of retirement plan where those employees can contribute to, right? 59% of 59% of employees that work for a company with less than 100 employees have access to a retirement plan. And then, we're at the point now where there's 22 different states that have enacted some type of state-run retirement plan. And those states all have a little bit different requirements to them, but most of them have some type of requirement that, if you have a certain number of employees, if you've been in business for a certain period of time, and you don't offer a private sector retirement plan to your employees, you're required to enroll your employees into this state-run, retirement plan, IRA, whatever you want to call it, right? So I thought that might be helpful just to kind of set the stage or give us some context of really the role that really the government is looking at all of our private sector companies and the role that they play in helping make sure that American workers are given every ample opportunity to be able to start saving for retirement. And because of that, it does, as I mentioned, give each and every one of you as a company the ability to really set yourself apart, right? Offering a retirement plan is no longer, something that is optional in the minds of employees. Retirement plans, especially 401ks, right, are consistently ranked amongst the top two benefits. So healthcare and retirement plans, depending on the surveys from various HR publications, retirement plan publications, one are healthcare or retirement are usually 1 and 2. 75% in the last survey that was out there, 75% of workers say these benefits influence their decision to stay or leave the employer. So one in 4 employers over the last year in 2025 survey considered leaving due to inadequate retirement plan benefits. So with that, I thought we would touch on a few quick things to keep in mind. So as an organization, if you're offering a retirement plan, there's often a lot of time, money, energy that gets devoted to it, right? But oftentimes we just kind of take a cookie cutter and we just put something in place to say we have it. And maybe it doesn't always align with, the goals or what we want to make sure it's accomplishing at the company level and at the employee level, right? And plan design has the biggest effect on that. What I mean by plan design is what are the features that we have available to our employees, right? Eligibility being one, right? How long do we make them wait before they're able to participate? And whether that's immediately, whether you make them wait a year, I will tell you, over the past 5 to 6 years in particular, eligibility has continued to decrease, meaning we're requiring employees to work for shorter periods of time before they become eligible to participate in retirement plan. And a few things to consider with that is, typically the lower eligibility periods are going to be required for your higher compensated people. Maybe you don't want to have a short eligibility period if you're in a business or an industry that maybe has a lot of high turnover for a certain period of time, and maybe that's when you want to extend that out. But I will tell you, as a whole, companies that even had 1 year of eligibility are now starting to do immediate to 30 days, 60 days type of thing. And oftentimes they'll look at trying to match that up with the other benefits that they have. And then last piece on eligibility is you can have different eligibility for different plan contributions, whether that's personal contributions that they're putting in or any of the company contributions that are available to you. Second thing and trends that we're seeing is the vesting changing, right? So, 15, 20 years ago when I was doing this, most companies had a 5 or 6 year period of time where their employees had to work there before they became vested in any of the company contribution. I would tell you today that is extremely rare. There may be one contribution source that has a 5 or 6 year vesting, but there's more than likely at least some employer contributions that are being made on behalf of employees that have no vesting schedules attached to them. It is something that we're commonly asked about. Third, contributions, right? Again, I don't think it's an option not to offer company contributions to your employees anymore if you want to be offering a competitive retirement or benefits package. Those contributions can come in a lot of different ways. Most commonly, we see companies do some sort of matching contribution, whether that's 100% up to a certain percentage, whether that's 50% up to a certain percentage. But the matching contributions typically, the reasons for it are one, a thought process at the company level of we really want to help our employees, but we want to make sure that they're helping themselves as well, right? Another type of contribution that we see is a non-elective contribution. Sometimes that can be commonly referred to as a profit sharing contribution. But these type of contributions at the company level are just saying, you know what, if XYZ employee hits certain eligibility requirements, we're going to put a certain dollar amount or a certain percentage into their 401k account on their behalf. And we are seeing this become much more common. Some of the thought processes around that are, maybe they're in an industry or we have a large workforce that doesn't necessarily considered to be high wage earners. So, maybe they don't have the ability to put that money in themselves, but the company still feels that is a key component to an overall benefits package, and they really want to make sure they're helping those employees that maybe are not in a financial situation to put money in themselves. And then, finally, you see these auto features. And what that just means is when an employee becomes eligible, instead of them having to make the decision to participate, that decision is made for them in that they automatically participate unless they make the decision to not participate, right? So all we did is change the decision that an employee has to make from to participate to not participate. And those really became, we have 10, 15 plus years worth of data on the effects of those auto features now. And, a part of the Secure Act 1.0 is if you started a 401k plan or a retirement plan after December 29th of 2020, your plan is required to have the auto enrollment and auto increases in it. And again, because we know that if an employee automatically enrolls their employees into their 401(k) plan, those employees are more likely to participate than if we make them make the decision to enroll themselves. It's not that most employees don't want to enroll, especially younger ones. It's that they want to keep it simple, right? They want somebody to. Um, Real quickly, we still have conversations sometimes today with people who, uh, maybe have a plan designed to where their current, um, key employees, right, that they really want to make sure that this is working for, are not able to maximize their personal contributions to the retirement plan. And that's just because it's not a safe harbor, what's called a safe harbor. And very simply, without getting into details, a safe harbor plan has certain design features, right, or contributions that are required at the company level, that get away from most of the discrimination testing to allow our key people to maximize their contributions. Um, and then third point under plan design is, oftentimes we don't see this additional non-elective or discretionary non-elective or profit sharing option being utilized to its full extent. And there's ways to do it to where we can award key people. There's ways to do it, if maybe to award some people that aren't necessarily highly compensated. And a good example with that would be, we have some companies, let's just call it an electrical company that has, various crew managers at a few different various crews, and they have a manager that kind of run those crews. And what they do in addition to the cash bonus every year is they have some various metrics, and the profit sharing is set up to be flexible enough to where they can pick and choose what they want to give to just those key employees. Again, there's some other things that have to be considered there, but that is sometimes an option that's available. Then plan construction, right? And what I mean by this is how do we pick and choose providers? How do we go about the investment options? Retirement plan money, I always say, is people's serious money, right? And usually less is more, meaning keep it simple. Keep it simple, control what we can control. Offer very low cost, broadly diversified investment options. We like to use and recommend having index funds that are there, right? And provide an easy button, right? Provide some pre-built portfolios that are available to them, whether that's target date funds or whether that's in our case we build some risk-based portfolios that allow employees really to just again click that easy button versus having to do it all themselves. Control costs, especially in the small business world. Oftentimes still companies pass on all expenses to employees when a great benefit can be when you start paying a lot of those expenses at the business. Goes as a business expense for you, keeps more money in your employees' pockets. And then finally, we've had a lot of webinars and stuff on pooled employer plans, but this was a new concept that became available again with that Secure Act 1.0 that was passed with the concept of expanding, coverage, meaning how do we make it easier for more companies to offer extremely competitive retirement plans to their employees without adding a whole bunch of costs and without adding a whole bunch of administration liability. And what these pooled employer plans did is now they allow companies of all different shapes, sizes, areas of the United States to join together in a professionally run retirement plan to create some economies of scale. So whether that is being able to delegate or outsource a lot of the administration and liability, all the way down to the economies of scale can offer our employees investment options at costs that they may not be able to get if you're offering a plan on your own. So all different things to kind of consider when you're looking at who do I use for providers to do this. And then finally, we go through all this work to offer retirement plans, right? And we don't provide any resources, any advice, any education to our employees. And oftentimes I see that because, the people making the decisions on what the retirement plan is, the investments, they tend to have a higher level of knowledge, and this isn't a foreign concept to them, like it may be for, the employees that they have working for them. And, providing, and this is back to Deanna's point of really rely on your brokers. We say in our world, rely on your advisors to help work with employees when they become eligible to make sure that they understand the benefits that they have in the retirement plan. Make sure that, there's a sounding board, whether they want to call in and talk to somebody about questions that they have on savings rates, investments. Should I put money in as a pre-tax contribution versus a Roth contribution, right? How do I pick and choose my investment options? I'm saving all this money as an employee into the plan. My company's doing a great job of putting some money in on my behalf. But what is that actually going to do for me at some point in time in my life? Providing some of that clarity and those type of projections. So those, in our opinion, are all things that should be available and happening to your employees through that process, right? Because, this can be a very, very foreign concept to most of them. And people don't like spending time or doing things that they don't know or they don't have a lot of knowledge about, right? None of us like to feel dumb or stupid when we're trying to make decisions or ask questions. So providing as much education as we can is always beneficial. And, down there below is, some of the educational advice resources that oftentimes should be available to you and to your employees. Employees, especially the younger generation, are more and more looking to their employers to provide them access with a lot of these different financial resources. And it also provides you a great opportunity to really set yourself apart from maybe another organization that, is just providing a benefit that is a check the box versus going that extra step and providing the resources to make sure it's working for everybody.
Awesome. We'll take a minute to pause here for any of our individuals tuning in today that are trying to receive CPE credit. Please go ahead and respond to this. Welcome back, everyone. We had a couple of quick questions come up during the first part of the presentation today. One of the first ones was, yes, the slides will be being sent out to all participants after the presentation today. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and then the second question was just asking to confirm the date on if your retirement plan was started after this date, where that auto enrollment feature and auto escalation features were required. And that is December 29th, if it was on or after December 29th of 2022. If you started your retirement plan after that date, it is required to have an auto enrollment feature and an auto escalation feature if the enrollment, isn't at that 10% plus.
Awesome, thank you. We'll pivot now and talk a little bit more about the emerging trends and benefits that we've been seeing. So first and foremost, from our experience in the HR world, we've seen a lot more benefits from employee engagement surveys, pulse surveys, information from brokers. We've been hearing a trend in this is an uptick in employees requesting mental health services or mental health assistance to make quality of life and work-life balance a little bit better. And so this really comes down to some burnout prevention and workload management, having those proactive conversations at work. If someone is going through an exceptionally busy time at work, making sure that they're in open communication with their direct supervisor to understand the workload, how that affects them inside the workplace, and making sure that they can work around that and understand that that's a temporary increase and they can manage that workload a little bit better. We've also heard feedback from employees wanting a employee assistance program. It was a trend in the last 10 years for employers to start offering an EAP. However, we've seen that some employees have marked theirs in particular as, the ease of use isn't there, the functionality maybe isn't as user friendly as they would like it to be, or maybe response times were low. And we've seen employees requesting specifically and finding value in a high quality EAP with easy availability, easy functionality, easy scheduling, and making sure that the providers available to them are top tier as well. So being able to really invest in employees and their families, for example, who are going through something tough and having that resource to lean on, protecting their mental health, their family's mental health, and having that be a benefit that comes through the workplace. We've also seen an uptick in individuals wanting flexibility in their work arrangements, and that looks a little bit different in every industry. But flexible start times, flexible leave times, any hybrid type arrangements that employees might need if it's an accommodation. But being flexible and receptive to employees in those types of situations in the event that you can maintain that employee who might otherwise have to seek employment elsewhere. I think that's a great way to continue to retain employees. And then lastly, a big part of benefits that individuals say they want on the mental health side of things is working for a manager that understands that people are now the work, so to speak, and being able to offer those managers, whether they're new managers, existing managers, other development and resource opportunities to continue to build relationships within the workplace and continue to have that strong coaching mentality when they're working with their peers to help make work a good place to be. They understand and have clarity about the work they're doing, their performance, and being able to come to work and know where they stand. A second trend that we are seeing in benefits alludes to a little bit of what Chris talked about today from the financial wellness side of things. So first and foremost, the retirement planning and 401k support. He did a fabulous job discussing what individuals are looking for and how that 401k support of helping employees understand how the plans work, questions, etc., is fantastic, along with those employer matching contributions. Employees are very much so looking to stay at organizations that value their financial wellness as well. And so some other routes that we've seen employers take to increase that is also having foundational financial planning available for employees, offering a health savings account within the benefits portions of the plans, tuition reimbursement or professional development support, whether that looks like helping employees go back to school or tuition reimbursement or paying off student loans. Those are all just a few examples of different avenues we've seen employers take. And those are all very situational to what the employer's population of employees might want in their specific organization. And another trend that we have seen is identity theft protection, where employees are largely valuing that as a service to protect their financial well-being as well.
Yeah, and even to add a little bit to that, especially on that foundation of financial planning. So we see more and more companies, depending on different sizes, asking and be willing to pay, especially for maybe the key employees, the key group of employees to provide them with, financial planning on a year-to-year basis with a certified financial planner. So that is something especially that companies are asking and willing to pay for their key people. And we've seen a huge trend in that.
Thanks. Something of interest that I wanted to bring to the attention of our attendees today was that 81% of employers consider retirement savings and planning benefits to be very important or extremely important to their workforce. And this is from SHRM, and it just goes to highlight that 4 out of 5 employees within your organization factor that as an important reason for why they're staying with an organization. So it's just something that we would like to highlight today and make everyone aware of, that it truly is of an immense importance to ensure that you've got that part of your organization benefits package correct. Going back to the emerging trends that we've seen in benefits, something else that we would like to discuss today is the lifestyle in terms of individuals of the employees that are the employees that work at your organization, and how their lifestyle impacts what type of benefits they might be looking for. So this is one of the most interesting workforce generations that we've had in quite some time, where there are so many different generations or ages of individuals that are in the workplace, from Gen Zers to Gen Alphas, millennials, etc. And so it's a really interesting employee makeup these days. So it really is dependent upon what your specific employee population looks like, and being able to tailor some of the benefits offerings that you have to make the most sense and to the lifestyle of the employees you do have. So first and foremost, some of the important emerging trends and benefits we've seen there are dependent care flexible spending accounts. These are accounts, they're a voluntary benefit where an employee puts their own personal funds and sets it aside at a tax deferred rate, where they're able to utilize that for tuition, childcare, elder care, etc. Being able to utilize that tax advantage plan to be able to help offset some of those expenses. Something else I've seen recently is some of the younger generations are asking for pet insurance, whether that's entirely voluntary or if the employer is covering a portion of it. A lot of younger employees are seeking help with pet insurance to help offset some of those veterinary costs and expenses. Another thing that has been very popular lately are gym and wellness club reimbursements, whether that's the organization is covering a gym membership reimbursement, different types of wellness activities, etc., or within the lifestyle spending accounts as well. Those two kind of group together. We've also seen a trend in wellness funds being deposited by the employer into these accounts to pay for gym memberships or for registrations for, say, a 5K, for a marathon, or other types of wellness and fitness activities or programs where the employee themselves is choosing what health benefit, what physical activity is helping to boost their wellness, their overall well-being in terms of that. And the employer is then contributing a portion to that as well. And the employee can also contribute some of their own funds to help with those. We've also seen an uptick, especially in the last few years, with elder care support resources, where individuals who have aging parents might want some help with assistance or placing their aging parents into facilities to help care for them. It's been an increasing benefit that we've seen in the last couple of years. And last but not least, sabbatical or extended leave programs. We've seen a lot of opportunities for employers to recharge and help their employees who are key employees that have been within an organization for quite some time, reward them with some time away for rest, recharge, or to pursue personal growth, take an advanced course in a specific subject that they're interested in, and the employer is then supporting them in that lifestyle decision to take some time away from work, but then also in turn, it helps the organization plan for what normal work operations look like when this person returns from an extended absence. And so they can plan ahead for some of those growing pains they might not otherwise have had the opportunity to prior. I know we've covered a lot today, but in closing, I would like to just say that there's no one size fits all approach to benefits, compensation, financial wellness, lifestyle, you name it. There's no one size fits all. And so the most effective strategy that an organization can have from HR to finance is making sure that you have a wide variety of benefit strategies in place to ensure that you are making sure that your specific demographics of your employees is reflected in the benefits that you're offering, and that you are continuing to evaluate what your employees want from you as an organization year over year, or within regular touch points a couple times a year, to make sure that what you're offering employees is really going to drive that retention. It's what they're asking for, and being able to continue to attract new talent to the organization based on the benefits you have, and retain and support your target workforce moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will add to that is, this should be something that you review at least on a yearly basis, because and maybe even have those type of communications and discussions with your workforce, because we often do still see in employee benefit packages, a benefit that maybe is offered, but not a single person utilizes it, right? So that can be a waste of some of the time, money, and energy that goes towards that as well.
We'll go ahead and open it up for any questions that participants might have for us today. First question here: do you have any data on how long the sabbatical or extended leave programs are often? I would say it honestly depends on the organization and what's considered feasible within the organization. I've seen some extended leave programs 3 to 4 weeks. I've seen some that are up to 8 weeks. And so honestly, it just depends on the nuances of the organization and what makes the most sense. I think it typically tends, from my observations, is that extended leave is a little bit shorter than sabbatical. Sabbatical tends to run a little bit longer. So happy to work with the person who posted this question. If you'd like to reach out afterwards, there might be some information that we could pass along. Any other questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat for us. Another question is, do you have any advice for small organizations? For instance, my workplace has only 3 individuals and the president manages HR. I would say for a small organization that has or does offer benefits, it's still important to have those conversations about what the plan looks like and the overall affordability of the plan. If you have a broker, I would say lean on them specifically for any health insurance related questions. Maybe there's a self-funded type plan that might make sense for a smaller organization, where you pool the employee or employers together to get a better group rate, for instance. But I would think that it's especially important to maximize your broker in situations like that from the benefits side of things, and making sure that within an organization as small as that you're really targeting the benefits that the 3 individuals there would need the most. Chris, anything from the 401k side?
Yeah, from a retirement plan side of things, that can be actually a huge advantage. Because we often see organizations with 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people, to where you're really able to offer a very, very generous retirement plan package, to where there can be significant dollars, especially to key people, and even non-key people that organizations are looking towards it. So some of the most lucrative retirement plans or 401k plans that we work with tend to be in small organizations, like you're discussing.
Next question: have you seen long-term care plans employees can opt into as being a benefit that is offered to employees? I have seen it offered through brokers. It's not something that I've personally dealt with, but it's definitely something that exists out there in the marketplace for employers that might have an employee population base that would see it as a value. So if that's something that you would like your employer to consider, I would suggest reaching out to HR and seeing if that's something that might be able to be included in benefits going forward. It doesn't hurt to ask and let your voice be heard. So another question we just received was, can you share more information on the lifestyle spending account, what it covers, and what benefits it holds for both an employee and an employer? First and foremost, a lifestyle spending account is essentially dollars that an employee can elect to set aside for some of those wellness or recreational physical activity type events or reimbursements or gym reimbursements, things along those lines that specifically the employee is interested in. So it's a little bit more individualized than say just a blanket gym reimbursement or something along those lines. We've seen some employees utilize dollars like for chiropractic care that might not be covered by their plan or acupuncture. So there are lots of different items that you could utilize those dollars for. As far as what benefits it holds for the employer and the employer, I don't believe all of them are tax advantaged. It would just be a conversation with your broker on if that is something that is available and making sure that you're able to utilize those funds for any related activities that would be important for plan participants to consider before they enroll into that specific type of an account. Other questions for us today? Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. If anyone on our call today has any other questions, they are more than welcome to reach out to Chris and I after the fact. And just as a reminder that the slides will be sent out after the presentation today here sometime this afternoon. Some of the things that we discussed today are definitely things that we have experience in helping with from an HR side of things, from a financial and 401k side of things. So if you have any direct questions, we're more than happy to help with anything that might come up after the fact.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.